All right, welcome into another Auburn Live show, the Modcast edition. The whole crew's here: Jeffrey Lee, Cole Pinkston, Keith Niebuhr. I am Justin Hokanson. Appreciate everybody for joining us. How's everybody doing on this Thanksgiving week?
Hungry.
Feel good. Glad you and me coordinated.
Well, you guys are eating. I'm going to be getting in some swings at the driving range before it gets a little crazy in the Auburn market.
Nice. I feel like, I don't know if it's Thanksgiving week. I don't know if it's because I'm at the beach. I don't know. I feel like we're like turning a corner maybe. Like head coach is almost tired. Season's almost done. Maybe some conclusion, start to flip the page on something new. I don't know. Just feel like this is maybe a week of getting sort of starting to pivot into something new here. I don't know.
The home stretch.
Season going this stretch. You guys remember a season going by this fast? I mean, it just seems like it just flew by.
Somebody the other night on the call-in show said it would have been was he the one that said it was really fast?
Well, it may be
somebody did, yeah.
It might be different for Justin. He's actually working. It might go by.
No, it went by fast. Well, it helps. Well, not to say it helps. Helps is the wrong word. It goes by fast when, like, for 3 weeks nobody cares.
Off season, the off season seems to take forever. All right.
I was going to say anything feels fast after that last off season.
Well, to me, the September and October, or was it September, the 5 straight home games, dude. I was about done after week 3. It was. I was too old for that shit.
So is the team, apparently.
Well, hey.
Penn State
they bounce back.
Yeah, after the Penn State game, it was I was so just defeated.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
Yeah, it kind of hit every. Remember the fans? Well, let's talk about the fans. After that Penn State game, I've never seen an about face like that before.
Yeah,
even the supporters. Never seen somebody. Even the supporters. Not the next day. Excuse me. By the fourth quarter of that game, were just like, "That's it. I've seen enough." And people that had been, including a lot of our board posters, and I'm not going to name any names, but people that had been, no, you guys got to give these guys more time, and he knows what he's doing. And by the fourth quarter of that game, they were like, "That's it. I'm out." Sucks.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I was personally pissed, I guess, for lack of a better word, because that Penn State game was going to be such a huge deal recruiting-wise. We busted our butts. That thing was building up, and then you lay a freaking egg like that. I mean, it was hard to do those exit interviews with recruits when they were leaving, and it was very telling. A lot of them were saying, Cole was there with me. I expected a lot more. Kind of with the same face that I have right now. I was done after that.
Aren't you glad they didn't bring out the orange jerseys for that one? In hindsight.
Oh, Cole, you did a great joke right there. You didn't realize. Aren't you glad?
I was.
They didn't bring out the orange jerseys.
Hey, Cole, before I forget, dude.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. True South. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, dude. Big how about you, the True South. A True Southern Outfitter sent me a shirt, man.
Moon Weagle.
I hope they're paying for that.
Moon Weagle, yeah.
Moon Weagle.
Yeah, the funny thing about this season, if I'll get back to that, was that for the last few years, everybody's always ripping the fans at Auburn. The students aren't there enough, and people get mad. And I thought the fans, for as average as the team was this year, the fans have been absolutely incredible.
They have after the coach.
Really good. Arkansas was the only one where I don't blame them.
Well,
Arkansas, what's funny is they kind of showed up against Arkansas in terms of numbers. They're like, we're here, we like tailgating, but the energy was just pretty much nobody could even really get any energy.
It was one of the worst I've seen.
That's one of those games where if you've been to an NFL stadium where they all have those concourses, that you like people have always said, boy, wouldn't it be nice if Auburn in the north end zone just had this giant walkway where that old scoreboard is and you could mingle and all that. That's kind of one of those games where you wish you had one of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mingle.
Just to pass the time.
Yeah. Hey, Arkansas scored again. So how's the family?
The cannons fire, somebody scored, and it's that's kind of what that game was like. But no, I mean, otherwise the fans have been into it. The sellouts, the last game, even Western Kentucky. I mean, Penn State game. And the funny thing about that Penn State game, Auburn was in that game at the half. Just a couple plays here or there. You wonder, could it have been different? Because they really could have been leading at the half, or 14-6 or something like that. I mean, they were right there.
And the first possession after the half, of the third quarter, wasn't there a turnover, and then Penn State ran it for like 80 yards and.
Well, they scored. I mean, it was that last few minutes of the first half, few minutes the second half, and it was done. It went from close game to, okay, we're down, but we're sort of in it, to they scored. It's like, oh, crap. And it happened all in a short
done deal.
The fans, that's an interesting thing when we go through this coaching search and everybody wants to have an opinion about Auburn. And why would you want to go to Auburn? Well, the fans did a good job of, I think, showing you why. We like to talk about the boosters and stuff, and that's always a fun talking point. But I think the fans, I think they showed a lot those last few games, especially A&M, Western Kentucky. I mean, I think they made a statement. They really did. And then normally I'd kind of chalk that stuff up to, I don't know. I don't know what it kind of maybe more wishful thinking, or, hey, maybe it really doesn't matter. I think that they made a statement that A&M game, showing up for that game at a night game, 3-6. I have to believe that if it's Lane Kiffin or whoever, that they saw pictures, they saw that. John Cohen probably mentioned that. And that's pretty freaking impressive, 3-6, and that's what I'm walking into.
Mm-hmm.
I think it made a statement.
I do too, especially when he had complained about that kind of stuff at Ole Miss.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think what else has been impressive, this whole process of firing the head coach. There wasn't drama. They didn't drag it out. They cut the cord. And then this search, the only drama with this search, the 98% of the drama, people always talk about Auburn. Oh, look at all the drama there. Well, in this search, guys, hasn't all the drama come from elsewhere?
Yeah.
It's from another state, okay? Auburn, this seems to have been, I mean, we're not at the finish line of a search yet, but up to now, this seems to have been a pretty, they're doing it their way. They're keeping things kind of quiet. There haven't been any really embarrassing incidents or a rash of coaches turning them down in press conferences or any of that stuff. It seems like it's been succinct and run well. I mean, that's the impression.
I completely agree.
It's been night and day from the last coaching search. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Well, when you don't offer, man, you can't turn. If some coach would have come out and been like, I turned him down, that would have really quickly been rebutted by us and whoever else, and be like, no, you don't have an offer. You don't have an offer. Nobody's turned you down. Nobody's got an offer. They're just talking to people. So, like Bill Clark or something. I guess Bill Clark's not around anymore to turn down the Auburn job. But
did he die?
Yeah, I think it's been. No, he had back issues and
okay.
He's alive.
Yeah. No, he's around.
I was about to say R.I.P. BC.
Former Auburn coach Bill Clark.
Yeah.
Former Auburn coach Bill Clark.
Or
Dave Doran. Remember when Pat Forty reported that Dave Doran turned the job down?
Who?
At NC State. Pat Forty. Remember when he reported that Dave Doran at NC State turned down the Auburn job? We're like, what, bro? What are you talking about, man? I think that was before Harsin.
I think if you're an Auburn fan, you have to be pleased, though, with the search and how
absolutely.
It looks like these guys got down to business, had a plan, knew what they were doing, and now again, they're not at the finish line yet. But
not at the finish line yet.
We think if something didn't work out, we think that these guys are organized enough that their backup plans are probably
ready to go.
Good, certainly better than the last time.
I think this time it's pretty clear a backup plan would be much better than the first time. It seems to be.
It would have to be,
if
obviously.
you go there, which we don't know.
Well, and it's a unique situation in that you have somebody that is the caliber of Coach Hugh Freeze is sitting there at Liberty, just waiting. So you don't have to really figure anything out in terms of number two choice. You got a guy that's ready to say yes, and so you can just pivot to him really whenever you want to.
Right.
Justin, how close?
I think will happen.
How close do you think this is to being done?
See, this is the interesting discussion. We may never know, right? Like, I may never know the complete story. I would love to talk to John Cohen afterwards and be like, just for real, when was this thing done to you? Not officially done. When were you like, right, we're good, we're coasting unless something crazy happens. I think if it's Kiffin, I think it's already done. I actually think it's borderline been done if it's Kiffin, outside of formalities, outside of, okay,
Right.
we got to go through the committee, we got to get approved the offer, we got to present it, we got all the stuff you have to do. I think if it ends up being Kiffin, I think you could go back. This isn't like a thing that happened this week. I think you go back
48 hour.
you go back a week or so ago, and I think it's been done. And from that point, it's just been okay. Let's figure out, cross the T's, dot the I's, get the offer, and all that. Now, if it turns out to not be Kiffin, then I would just be surprised, because everything right now, if it turns out to not be Kiffin at this point, it's a last minute change. Something happened last minute. There's too much that's going on. Auburn's at a place right now. They're presenting with the offer if they haven't already actually done that. So if it's not, it's some kind of dramatic last minute change that I wouldn't even be able to explain. I couldn't even give you a rational reason right now why Lane Kiffin would stay at Ole Miss.
Yeah, especially when he's – listen, I think next week's show, a hire will have been made, presumably, and we're going to be able to look back at that 48-hour window, and we're going to be able to – I mean, seriously, you walked us through this process, and it was after that 48-hour window, just like we said last week. I don't remember which show it was on, but all right, now it's time for the Lane Kiffin stuff. If this is true, it's time for it to die down, and it did. And it did, and we had a couple of new names, and then here we are. Like you said, if it's Kiffin, you look back to that 48-hour window, and that's probably when it was done. Sans the formalities.
Yeah. Nailing out the hard stuff. What are you talking about? What kind of money are we talking about? $11 million a year? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What kind of incentives you want? Stuff like that. But, and I complained about it last week, but Auburn's biggest asset in this was the cowardly Ole Miss beat, right? Because there was no questions about it all last week. And then there was hey, what about? And they're like, okay, all right, yeah. We won't talk about that anymore. So it almost worked out perfectly for Auburn, because I guarantee you, if that was happening to a coach at Auburn, the Auburn beat. First of all, his press conference for the Egg Bowl was 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and he's the number one candidate for an SEC West rival. I think they asked him one or two questions, and he gave to me a very telling answer, and again very telling quotes according to Chris Lowe yesterday with his team meeting with the Ole Miss players. The tea leaves from that 48-hour window, Justin, for me, and I'm going, is this too good to be true? Is this too obvious? And that was my only concern with it. And after these quotes have come out, after he had to address it in public and then in private with his team, to me those were my last tea leaves. I was good after that. I told y'all last night. I'm like you, Justin. If it's Lane Kiffin, it's probably been done, and I think it's Lane Kiffin. But it's been fun, dude. It's been fun to read your coverage, dude. You've done a fantastic job.
Yeah. Well, it's been a little crazy, but yeah, I think we're in good shape. What do y'all think, Cole and Keith?
I was going to say, I'm always – and look, I know some of the people that cover Ole Miss, and I like them. I like these people. It's just
go away. I love you. Now go away. Go on out of here now.
It's always funny to me that people who cover a team, whether it's college or pro, not all, seem to be – it's almost like they feel like if a coach leaves, it's an indictment against everything that they do.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Ole Miss is a great place. It's a great place. I like it there. You guys been there? I love it there. Okay.
The Oxford School. Yeah.
Fantastic city, fantastic people, beautiful school. Sometimes people just want to leave these places. Like, I'll give you an example. When Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma last year, I've never seen a fan base turn on a guy so fast. It's the fan base, the media group. And you're like, well, the media, they're not supposed to react like fans here. Okay. They're not supposed
he's been so good to their program. He's elevating Ole Miss. He's been so.
Yeah. But here's another way of looking at it. He's put them in a good place. If he leaves, he's put them in a good place where a lot of people are talking about Ole Miss again.
No doubt. No doubt.
And it is a good program. It's a good program. It's not a great program, but it's a very solid program right now, where they're able to compete for 8, 9, 10 wins a year. with the challenges they have, like being in a state that's got not a huge population, a lot of great recruits, but they got to split them with Mississippi State, and then Alabama comes in and gets guys. Remember that year just a few years ago when Matt Luke was the head coach at Ole Miss, and Auburn went in and grabbed 3 big-time players from that state. Now, only Derek Hall panned out, but Auburn grabbed 3 of the top 5 or 6 guys in that state. And so there's challenges there. There's challenges at Auburn too, but Auburn's a little bit more in that limelight. And one thing we know about guys Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze, they like being in that limelight. You're not far from Atlanta. Auburn's one of those schools, people are talking about it and talking about you, whether the school is winning or losing. And there's only about a dozen or so schools like that, quite frankly. And so while if you're an Auburn fan, you hate that people are making fun of you when you're losing. You have to understand that means they care. And there are a lot of programs when they're going 5 and 7, ain't nobody talking about it. Okay. And that's about half the SEC, quite frankly. So Auburn is in that limelight. But Ole Miss, Lane has gotten Ole Miss back into that limelight, back into that spotlight place that they haven't been in too many times before in recent memory, certainly not in any of our lifetimes. And so it worked out great for both sides, whether he stays or goes, I'd say. If he leaves, I wouldn't be too upset if I was them. Obviously, he's going to another SEC school if that's the case, and that's hard to stomach. But he got things righted over there. He got the ship headed back in the right direction, and he would be leaving them in a good place for the next coach. I do believe that. People have seen everything Ole Miss has to offer. And are they going to consistently beat out the Alabamas and Georgias for recruits? No, but who does, right? It's I think Lane has done a very good job over there, and should be appreciated for that.
I think the best point was made, Justin, by you about just what are the reasons he would stay at Ole Miss at this point. It seems like there's so many more reasons why he would choose Auburn over Ole Miss at this point. And, obviously he's obviously he's clownish on Twitter and social media, and he does that kind of stuff. But he is a business guy. Anybody that's, been in the room with him, been coaching with him before, they see him as a business guy, and he's real serious about what he does. And it just seems like a really good business move to go to Auburn right now with everything that's going on. Yeah. So that's why it seems like it's going to happen.
Well,
in my opinion.
I agree, and I think it's. I mean, that's why there's a part of me that thinks that, like, kind of what Keith mentioned recently, but really just in general, I think it's very possible that there's been a lot more drama around this on the outside than on the inside. Because on the outside you don't know who's going to be. You hear these names, you're right. There's a lot of. I think there's probably been less drama around this on the inside. I think. Because if you really just objectively compare Ole Miss and Auburn, I don't care, money, facilities, program, like the ability. I don't think there's one thing you could point to unless you're just like, I want to stay in a place with less expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I mean that's fine.
That's the one thing Ole Miss has.
Yeah, they expect probably a little bit less from you.
And
that's about it.
Well,
unless you love what?
Love living somewhere and love a community and your
Sure.
family. Those things matter. Those things matter.
They do. Like, yes, family could, but even that's a tough one. Like, even if you're like, and that's part of the deal with Lane, right?
Well,
He's
that's
got a
more personal, right?
Like Oxford. Yeah. I mean, if you're like, hey, I've moved them 3 times in 3 years. They got 2 years left. I want them to finish high school, one place. Yeah, that could come into play. But for Lane, where he's at, man, I just think internally it's very possible that Lane doesn't really care what the fans think. Like, Lane cares what's good for him. Yeah. And I get Ole Miss fans. I get it, man. He had to come to the SIP. Like, I get it, man. Lane made Oxford cool. He's made Ole Miss cool. I get it. I get the fans being mad if he leaves. It would suck. But I just don't think. Look, he went from Florida Atlantic to there. That's a no-brainer. Now you go to Auburn. That's a no-brainer to me. I mean, he's about elevating his career, and so you just can't take these things that personal if he leaves, which is what's happening. I mean, you have Ole Miss fans right now all over social media. They're calling for him to not even be able to coach the Egg Bowl. They're saying if you haven't signed the extension, you should just get him out of here. Just go ahead and fire him. I mean, they're over him already. It's probably a good thing that game, by the way, is not in Oxford. That would be extremely awkward.
Yeah, it would.
I mean, it would be weird. You might even have some fans yelling at him from the front row, wondering what he's doing. And so it's interesting that it's in Starkville. But going back to your point, Jeffrey, about the Ole Miss media or, whatever, yeah, they've really done Auburn for a week. They did Auburn a favor. They gave Auburn an extra week there where they just didn't ask him about it. And whatever. I mean, they said they're going to ask him after the Egg Bowl. That's fine. But at that point, it's kind of done. I mean, at that point, he's made his decision and he can tell you whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think you want to ask him back then because it's literally just conversations are happening. Jimmy Sexton, his agent, is talking to Auburn and nobody's asking him, hey, what's going on? Are you interested? Or are you staying here? So, yeah, they did Auburn a real favor for a week. They did.
And I think some of them have said, oh, well, he doesn't answer that question. Well, you still have to ask it.
Yeah, any answer is an answer. No comment is an answer.
And the thing is, Lane Kiffin, the better coaches in the game, they're alpha males, they're alpha dogs, right? They want to win. And what he doesn't have is a ring as a head coach, right? A championship ring. And so he's I'm sure he's looking across the landscape of college and saying, what opportunities could I win a championship at? And obviously Ole Miss, has not won an SEC title since 1963. Ole Miss has never played in the SEC championship game, not once. That's not ripping the program. That's just some obstacles there. Heck, I think given the obstacles, they've done a pretty damn good job. But what is the max out? So if you're Lane Kiffin, you're thinking, okay, so what are the top 15, top 20 historic programs? The ones that are going to win championships. And there's been a few outliers. BYU won one. Georgia Tech won one. Obviously, 30 years ago, Georgia Tech was a historic top 15 program. But not anymore. There's been some outliers. But you look at the main programs of where you can win at, and he has to look at it and say, okay, where could I possibly end up at? I mean, how hard is it to win at Ole Miss versus which one of these top-tier programs could I get to? Well, USC and Tennessee he's already coached at. They're probably not going to bring him back. So you can rule out those two. Michigan, Ohio State, he doesn't fit the DNA. Penn State, he doesn't fit the DNA. Notre Dame, no chance. So you've already ruled out 6. Texas has Steve Sarkisian right now, who is basically Lane Kiffin, right? They're kind of the same offensive guy. That seems hard. Oklahoma, Nebraska, 2 other top 15 historic programs. Doesn't seem like he would fit the DNA at those programs. Georgia and Alabama. Well, maybe when Saban's done, but then he has to wait. Kirby's not going anywhere. So you rule out those 2 for immediate departure access. So then you go down to Florida, Miami and Florida, and maybe Florida State. Well, Norvell sort of got them on the upswing. Napier and Cristobal in their first year. They're probably not getting fired at the earliest till year 3 if they totally tank. So if you're Lane Kiffin, you're thinking to get to one of these programs that has won, LSU would be the other one. They just hired Brian Kelly. So worst case scenario, he's fired in 3 years. Well, looks like they're on the up and they're recruiting well. So you start with Lane Kiffin, you're saying, okay, my opportunities to go to a program that has proven it can win at the highest level and compete for championships and win championships is limited. I could take this one now or run the risk of waiting a few more years? Well, it's hard to win consistently 10 games at Ole Miss, as history has proven. And where you are at today doesn't guarantee you're going to be there tomorrow. Now, he could take him up, but he could also go in the other direction there. So, it's not now or never time. He's only 47, but it's now or probably I got to wait 3 years' time. And these guys are ultra competitive guys. They want to win right now. They want to start building toward the future right now. So that's the way I look at things. That's why Auburn is so appealing to him. It is one of the elite programs historically that he would have a shot to coach at. And now he's got a really good shot.
What do you guys make of – oh, go ahead, Cole.
Real quick, I just think one of the things that makes Auburn an elite program and maybe puts them, this far above Ole Miss is the capability. It's just the capability that it has. The capability that you can go in and win here. I mean, you look at Tuberville, Chizik, Malzahn, even back to Bowden. They all had a really good season in Auburn, at least one. They all did. They all got fired. But
yeah. I mean, Harson's like the first 1 in 5 coaches to not do something significant in the first 2 years. Everybody had an undefeated season, made the championship game, won the championship in the SEC in the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And he's probably looking at Brian Harsin going, man, dude, you had all this and you
how you screw that up?
come on,
Here's what we don't know about Auburn. Is Auburn always going to be like this? Because so far it has been.
Yep.
Or have they just not found the guy that can keep them at the top? And we don't know.
I think that is a loaded question because
we don't know the answer.
We could devote a whole show to that because I think I don't know. Given where Auburn is in the landscape of things, SEC location, geographic location, the strength of Bama and Georgia, it just would take to me a lot of things for Auburn to be really good consistently for let's say 7, 8, 10 straight years. Man, that's more than just coaching and alignment. That's the reality is that's also where Alabama and Georgia right now. How are they doing? It just is. And so it just, especially right now, it just there's so many things that have to go right. I think for Auburn to go have 7 straight years of 9, 10 wins or something. It's just so competitive. I don't know.
Well, to me, it's recruiting, and it's if you want to be up there with those Georgia and Alabamas where a bad season is 10 wins, you're going to have to take some of that talent and put it on your team. You're going to have to take some of this talent from Georgia and put it on your team. You're going to have to take away while at the same time adding. You're going to have to get on a talent level equal to or if not superior to them. And that's what Kirby's done. Because if you don't, then you're looking at a Mark Richt type run, right? Yeah. Mark Richt was a perennial 9-10 win coach who always had Georgia in the hunt but could never get over that hump. He was consistent, though. Yeah. Consistent top 10 team. Kirby took them to that next level. He got them over that hump. Is Lane Kiffin a Mark Richt? Is he a Kirby Smart? Can he get Auburn over that hump? I hope we get to find out. Because at Auburn, you're on a more level playing field. Man, I'm telling you, On to Victory is going to even some things out when it comes to recruiting. That's given you a believable chance at stealing some of those 5-star the program changers away from Alabama and Georgia. So I'm really anxious to see if Lane Kiffin can take the talent from from Alabama and Georgia, put them on his team, and see where he can take them.
Well, the one thing that Lane Kiffin has, and Hugh Freeze for this matter too, is that you would have the faith that I don't know if they'll ever recruit right there with Alabama or Georgia, but those two guys are going to get you quarterbacks every year. They're going to get you they're going to get you that most important piece every year, whether be it through high school, JUCO, or the portal. I mean, Chad Kelly was a portal guy at Ole Miss, right? Yeah. So it's a JUCO guy, a portal for a transfer from Clemson to JUCO to Ole Miss. But those guys are going to get you quarterbacks, and that can be sort of the equalizer. I mean, Cam Newton didn't have a receiver that caught a ball in the NFL, correct?
Darvin Adams was his go-to, and he played in the CFL, I believe.
Yeah, which doesn't mean I'm not knocking those guys.
Terrell Zachary.
Good players. But he didn't have an Ike Hilliard out there, Auburn's receivers. You know what I mean? Yep. He didn't have guys like that. He was able to elevate. There's only one Cam Newton you're going to get in a lifetime. But if you're consistently getting good quarterbacks, it's first and foremost, it's going to help you get other players. But secondly, those are the guys that can elevate your team. I mean, when Auburn had good QB play in 2021, they were 5-1, right? And then Bo got hurt, and that kind of changed the trajectory of the season. So, I mean, again, I think top 12 classes every year, which is what Auburn should be doing. Top 12 classes, but with some difference makers and with you figure Lane or Hugh. I still say Hugh could get you those A-list QBs too now. I think I think he gets you some guys as well. But Lane Kiffin's going to get you QBs, no doubt about that. And I think that's going to, you're always going to have a couple of them on your roster.
It sounds sort of elementary for me to say this, but understanding your personnel is such a big factor in being a head coach, understanding what kind of offense you run. And this guy, Lane Kiffin, has gone from throwing it almost every down to, running it down people's throats. because his personnel changed. He changed with the personnel, and a couple prominent head coaches that I've talked to in the state of Alabama high school level have told me that is the best thing he does. And if you don't think that's important, well, just look at Cadillac right now. He changed the game with these guys and gives them a chance to win because he's doing completely different things than what they were doing before. And he's gone all the way to the running game. Instead of trying to make Robbie Ashford throw the ball 25 times a game, that wasn't working. You do it this way. He understood the personnel and changed it up. That to me is the biggest is one of the biggest things. And if you think blue chip ratio is above that, and it can be most of the time, then there's no reason Auburn should have beat Texas A&M the other day because their blue chip ratio was way above Auburn. And that's still very important. You've got to have both. But it's watching what only thing.
Yeah, watching what Bo Nix did this year, you just want to fire Brian Harsin again. Like if you could do it, if you could just hire him and fire him again. He's unbelievable. He's everything you thought he was going to be. And Malzahn a little bit, but I'll give Malzahn a little bit of leeway because Bo Nix was younger then. You had him as a freshman, sophomore, whatever. But man. All right, hey, you mentioned Hugh Freeze. Let's talk about that a little bit because, we know where things kind of stand with Kiffin. The big question was the last week to me was, okay, who's number 2 if this doesn't work out? I said on the board yesterday and in the hot board on Tuesday that if things go south with Kiffin and for some reason that doesn't work out, I still think Hugh Freeze is very much in play. I stopped short of saying he's for sure the number 2 candidate. My opinion is that he is. After all the names or whatever, I still think Hugh's right there. What would that look like? How would everybody feel if it were Hugh as the number 2 guy? Not Sweeney, not Fickle, not Frank, not Sonny Dykes, none of those guys. If it's Hugh as the number 2 guy after Kiffin, because I think now you got to sort of think about too, how would people react? I mean, there's fans that are going to react, whatever, they'll get over it. But that's kind of just a part of it. Like, how would they react if it's not Kiffin and it does end up being Freeze, and then also just Freeze as the guy if it ended up being that guy? Is that still a home run? Is it? How do we look at that?
It's a little bit of a letdown for fans. That doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good hire. It would just be a little bit of a letdown for fans because they're expecting Lane Kiffin. I mean, they pretty much put their eggs in that basket. So anything other than Lane Kiffin at this point, I think, would be just a touch of a letdown, even though there are people, and you've seen on our board posts on the corner, that say, I almost would rather have Hugh Freeze. I think there was a post about that yesterday. There's some people out there that think he's, better, maybe X's and O's, I don't know, maybe recruiting than Lane Kiffin, but most of the fan base would feel a little let down, I think.
I'm not even going to entertain that question.
I will. I mean, I think, obviously let down because Hugh just isn't the national name that Lane is right now. But, like I talked to some college coaches last week, and one of them said, that's no number 2 choice. That's, Hugh Freeze is a winner. Obviously they had to forfeit some games at Ole Miss. But he's still coaching. He wasn't criminally liable. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't banished from the game. The guy's won everywhere he's gone. He's a known commodity in the Southeast. He gets you back into Mississippi. He knows people in Alabama. He knows people in Georgia. He's recruited in Florida. So I think once you got over the initial shock, then Hugh Freeze is probably getting you players within a couple of weeks. And you know what I mean? Now he's going to have to, the funny thing is we all know who he is. We're adults, but an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, that's a big name recruit. They're probably, this is where the challenge is. They're not going to know who he is. I'm just going to be honest. They're not going to know because the last time he was at Ole Miss or the last time he was at an SEC school, they were 9, 10, 11 years old. They don't really know him, okay? And what year did he have to resign from Ole Miss? Whatever year that was.
I was trying to remember. Yeah, how long has it been?
I'll look it up here, but it's
because it went Matt Luke and then Kiffin.
Yeah,
I actually have proof that yet, Keith, because I went.
Was he there in 17, 16,
Well,
17?
he was at 2017 was his last year. Okay, so that doesn't seem like an eternity ago, but that's actually 6 signing classes ago.
These kids were 12.
That's right. They were 12, so they don't know. Now, obviously, here's one thing I do know about Hugh Freeze: immensely popular with the guys that coached with him at Ole Miss. Wesley McGriff, who coached at Auburn, worked with him at Ole Miss. I think he was very high on him. Matt Luke, who then became the head coach, then went to Georgia. Apparently, he's extremely high. So I think he would be able to assemble an all-star type staff.
Somebody even told me that Matt Luke would be one of his first calls. Now you got to get him out of retirement, but that would be one of his first calls. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm sure. Apparently thinks very highly of him. So yeah,
that dude's good.
And obviously, if it's Freeze, let's say, who you hire right away would soften the blow. Oh my God, he got this guy. That kind of thing. But again, he's not a known quantity right now to kids, A-list kids.
To give you credit on that, Keith, Quay Russo, saw him last week and had a good conversation with him. I talked through each of the coaching candidates with him just to see his reaction, what he thought of those guys. He definitely knew who Lane Kiffin was. He definitely knew who Deion Sanders was. Had to ask me who Hugh Freeze was. He's like, I'm not sure who is that again? Liberty? He goes, Liberty? Like Liberty? I said, yeah, Liberty. He used to be at Ole Miss. He goes, oh, okay. I don't think he knew who he was.
He didn't know he was, yeah.
Now, I know the coach coming from the Panthers, I think. He said that one too. So that he knew.
Use an engaging personality. It wouldn't take him long once he meets parents. It'd be up to his assistants to get guys on campus these first 3 weeks, obviously. But once Hugh Freeze gets in front of people, I'm just telling you guys, I mean, he's engaging, he's energetic, he's fun at those summer camps that Brian Harsin didn't like to do. And quite frankly, Gus didn't always love. Gus is kind of an introvert too. He loves those things. Hugh does this. I told you guys, he let me break commitments of 2 twins in his office. I mean, he gets it. He gets all that. He would probably be on the phone with media people. What do you guys think I should do? He's an intelligent guy. I don't think there's any question about it. It's just that you don't think so, Jeffrey?
I mean,
well, look at Jeff's face.
Listen, he's not smart enough to let somebody else be the pimp. Like, he was the one setting up the freaking dates, dude. Like, you can't do that, big dog.
I'm talking strictly in terms of football.
Fair point.
On an interpersonal level, all that stuff.
He's like, he's not talking about that, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
What did Sammy Sosa say remember when all the baseball players went to Congress and Sosa and McGuire were like, I'm not here to talk about the past. Well, why the hell else are you here? That's why you're here. So, yes, I get it, Jeffrey. But if you're asking me how do I think he would acclimate himself, I don't think it would take long. But Lane Kiffin has the sizzle. That's the name. That's the hot name in college football right now. That's the hot name.
Yep.
No doubt.
It is.
I think either way, and again, we think it's Kiffin until it's not. I think either if that's what it turns out being, if it's not Kiffin, a quick pivot to Hugh Freeze, get it done. I think Auburn's in great shape either way.
I agree.
I think Auburn's in great shape either way.
And we talked about this last week. If that's your floor, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. I think Cole said Kiffin was A++, and I think Cole had Hugh Freeze as an A+.
Yeah. And I do think that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it's just the reality is, you're entertaining all these names, or like whether or not there's interest in Fickle or James Franklin or whatever. And I put Fickle on the hot board. I never added Dabo and Franklin. Just not sure about the interest level there. But Auburn needs a coach now. There is not time. Like, let's say for some crazy reason it's not Kiffin. You can't restart this process.
No.
Or say, okay, we kind of know some. Let's say there's some preliminary stuff with Franklin. Let's just name a name, James Franklin. And let's say you've had a brief conversation and he's interested, but that's really kind of all you've gotten. You can't start this over on like Saturday afternoon and now spend the next 4 or 5 days talking to Franklin. Do numbers work? Okay, and then are you going to sign it? And then what if something happens there? There's not time. That's why I think Hugh makes just all the sense in the world. It'll be a quick pivot, and Hugh would be hired. If Lane Kiffin, if this thing went south Saturday, you could hire Hugh Freeze Sunday.
Yep.
Literally.
And you've got to, man. You've got to have a coach. I don't care who he is. You got to have a coach by Monday.
Being that it is Iron Bowl week, I think I'll add one more thing to Lane Kiffin that makes him just the most dynamite hire in this situation. If you ask any Alabama fan, which you will, because you're going to go to family gatherings and be around your Alabama fan family, who do they want as the next head coach at Alabama?
I don't have Alabama fans in my family.
Oh, you don't? Okay, well, you're lucky.
No, dude, we don't associate with those.
I've got plenty of them.
All my relatives are University of Miami and Florida State grads. I can't.
What do y'all do for Thanksgiving? What do those Thanksgivings look like?
Somebody didn't raise folks right, Cole.
Right. So you ask them, who do they want as their next head coach? And they'll say Lane Kiffin. Most of them will.
Yeah. No, yeah. Which we won't go there, but boy, I talked to a radio person this past week, and I go, dude, can you imagine if Kiffin comes to Auburn, kills it, and then let's just say it's 5 years. Let's say 5 years from now, Saban retires. Can you imagine if Alabama says, we don't care if he's coaching Auburn. That's our guy. This guy that was in radio, he was like, I'd be in heaven. Can you imagine? In our lifetime, you'd never seen something where Alabama would want Auburn's coach. There'd be a bidding war. It would be, blood would be shed. It'd be nasty. It's a long way down the road, but it would be nuts.
I just think Kiffin, if it's him, he comes in, he's got the chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove to everybody, I've got another elite job. This time, I'm going to get it done. But I think that actually meshes well with the Auburn fan that's tired of being second fiddle to Alabama and Georgia. I think he does connect better with. I think it's you got to win. But I think the little digs that he takes at other teams and programs sort of reminds you of another guy from the 1990s that used to do that as a head coach.
Coach.
I think there's some real parallels there, okay? A guy that doesn't necessarily love being out in the public. But what does he love? He loves calling plays.
Loves trolling.
What was Spurrier like around – because Florida fans, from what I understand, they love him. Was he like – Go Gators, love Gainesville, love being a part of the community.
Well, he did, because that was a little different.
Or were they just
because he went to school there, so there was
true. Yeah,
but the parallel, and I was lucky. I'm dating myself here because everybody's going to find out how old I am now. But I actually covered the team when I was in school, and Justin, it was an incredible scene back then. You didn't have Twitter and all this stuff, so we were allowed in practice every day. For 3 straight years, I was in practice watching him work with the quarterbacks from 30 feet away with Heisman winners, okay? Excuse me. And Spurrier was a lot like Lane in that 98% of what he said was just kind of dry. But then as you're walking away, he'd say something pretty funny. He'd say something pretty funny. You know what I mean? It was just I'll tell you one thing. One funny Spurs story. This kind of makes me think this is I could see Lane doing something like this. We had a.
By the way, you need to write a column. Don't waste all your bullets.
I'm gonna give one story. One.
You need to write a column on this if it happens, because I really haven't heard anybody make this comparison, and I'm completely on board with you. I think it's fascinating. And
I think Gene Wojciechowski, the national reporter, might have been there one day, but it was mid '90s, and there would be like 10 media people there, and Spurrier would ham it up with you. And Spurrier, by the way, read the student newspaper every day and would pull me aside and bitch about columns that 18-year-olds wrote. What does he know about quarterbacks? I'm like, why do you care? But one day there was a reporter, overweight reporter, who said, hey, coach, you dated my mom when she went to school here with you. And he looked at the guy, I won't name him. He looked at the guy and goes, your mom? No way. Okay. Now, that's the modern day Lane Kiffin trolling on Twitter, right? Isn't that kind of, you know what I mean? You trolled in different ways back then. But offensive guy. But what did Spurrier have? That was a program that had, I don't want to say Auburn's underachieved, but none of us think Auburn has reached its full potential. Can we agree on that?
Yes. Consistently, no.
Same thing. That was a program that they had underachieved, but also not reaching their full potential. Auburn hasn't underachieved, just maybe hasn't quite consistently been what it could be.
Spurrier completely unlocked Florida.
So what we're saying here is that this guy's coming in, he's got the chip on his shoulder, wants to prove everybody that he's the guy. and he's got a fan base that is so hungry for success. So tired of being that not the one, not number one. And
even down to before that, I mean, he elevates Duke the same way Kiffin, I think, has elevated Ole Miss. I mean, he elevates that program, and then
that's correct.
That's a great analysis. I had not heard that.
Last year at Duke, they won the ACC title. I don't think they've won it since. And they took
like 89.
Yes, 89. They won it by winning at North Carolina. And Mack Brown was the coach. Now, Mack Brown went to Florida State, so him and Spurrier were never going to like each other to begin with. So after the game, Spurrier took his team out. They took a giant photo of the scoreboard at North Carolina in Chapel Hill Stadium, and reporters asked him if he thought that was disrespectful to North Carolina. He said, "I've won more games here than Mack Brown has."
Oh my gosh!
Could you see? Yeah. Could you see? He's Lane Kiffin. He's 1990 Steve Spurrier is 2022 Lane Kiffin. Now, can he win like Steve did? And there's evidence to suggest, man, Spurrier was 46 when he got that job. Lane's 47. Wow. We think of Lane as having been around forever. He's still a young guy in head coaching circles. By the way, Hugh's not that old. Hugh Freeze isn't that old either. So they just got
props. You're kind of brilliant, Keith.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
When he wants to be.
I like it.
No level of brilliance, but no,
it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Those guys. I mean, either one of those guys. I think Freeze would be a motivated son of a gun if he gets that. I'm going to put together an all-star staff. People like working for me. Now I can pay them more money. We're going to have a great staff. And the
last thing I'll say, we can move on, talk about Iron Bowl and wrap it up. The one thing that I think Freeze would have over Kiffin is, I think if you get Freeze, I think you're more comfortable with him being there for 10 years than you are Kiffin. Kiffin wants to win a Super Bowl. Like, if Kiffin could get another chance in the NFL, he'll jump. Heck, like we joked about, if Alabama came calling in 5 years, he might jump. Like Freeze, I would feel more comfortable. Like, you got him, and I think you'd feel more comfortable in him being there longer than if Kiffin has success. People might come after him harder, that kind of thing. But
Freeze will be there in 5 years if you need him.
That's true. Yeah, he might still be killing it at Liberty. I wonder if somebody will give him a shot. All right, let's talk Iron Bowl for a few minutes before we get out of here. 24-point dogs, Auburn.
22.
Jeffrey. 22, is it down to 22?
According to Zach in the back.
22. What do we got prize picks wise? And let's just talk about this game a little bit, even though I think most people don't give Auburn a big shot, but we'll see.
Hey, first, prize picks, man. Loving some prize picks. Prize Picks is the best way to have action on the games in 70% of the United States, man. Prize Picks is currently operational in 30 states and Canada. How does it work? You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. And right now, the Thanksgiving special they've got going is a free square from Justin Jefferson. So you go on there, you got to pick 2 to win. They're giving you 1. So all you got to do is pick 1 to win. Go on Prize Picks, the app, download it, use the promo code War Eagle, all caps, one word, no spaces. They will 100% deposit match up to $100. And like I said, they're giving you that free square with Justin Jefferson this week. So you flip a coin, and if you guess right, you win. Prize Picks.
I've already taken my Justin Jefferson square.
Yep.
It is 0.5 yards.
0.5 yards.
1 yard for you to win.
All he's got to do is catch a football in positive yardage. You win that one. So really, if you go back to last week's rules, if you pick 2 on your own and then add Justin Jefferson square, now you're hitting the 3. And I think that's a pretty good little payout right there.
Yes, it is.
Alabama minus 22, according to Zach in the back, with over-under of 49.5. I don't have any Prize Picks projections yet on that. We are recording on Wednesday, so it's a little earlier in the week. But Vegas has it as minus 22. Cole, I think you said that this is one of the highest lines.
Yeah, it was. It was closer to 27 at one point.
I'm talking about in the past.
Yes, in the past, yes. Yeah, second highest.
Oh, second highest.
I think the 2012 was 34.
Yeah, I bet.
So, and they covered that one pretty easy.
That they did.
I'm gonna take the points, big dog. Not only am I going to take the points, I'm taking the upset. I don't give a shit. I'm picking Auburn to win.
Why not?
Well, you know what, Jeffrey? I think that is where a lot of Auburn fans are right now, and it's exciting because you go back to the Penn State game we're talking about.
I don't expect them to win, but damn it, I'm going to pick them to win. All right, I think it's 34-17 Bama or something like that, but I'm going to pick Auburn to win. I'm picking them to win.
I think Auburn fans have thrown logic out the window this week.
Yeah, there you go. I totally did.
I'm going all out.
You going? What are you doing, Cole?
I'm picking Auburn.
All right.
Absolutely. I'm going to say 28-24 Auburn.
Whew. Oh, my gosh.
Keith, you said you were picking Auburn too. All right.
I did not say that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think Auburn can compete with them. I think Auburn can score here or there. They're going to be able to run the ball okay, I think. Defense is not bad, but I just think Alabama maybe – I'm saying 33-17 in that range. I think 3 touchdowns, 4 field goals, right? That gets you to know that so that would be 33-17. I think one of my concerns is Robbie's ball security in that kind of environment and, all that stuff. Jeffrey laughing. Gee, I can't ask for taking care of the football. If he can take care of the football, Auburn can maybe keep it interesting. But, the drops, the fumbles, those kind of things. And they're going to – I don't know how – I feel like Auburn's going to have to throw at least a little bit. I just don't know how that's going to happen. So that's my concern. But I think they could score on the ground here or there. So I think they cover. Let's put it that way. So 33-17 Bama.
I'm going 18-17 Auburn with Alex McPherson kicking 6 field goals.
That was the score in 97.
18-17?
I'm pretty sure. Jarrett Holmes field goal to go to the West. I was at that game. I feel like it was 18-17.
All right, Justin. What was that? Zach's got Auburn 38-10. Oh, I'm sorry. Alabama 38-10.
1997. That was right. Zach, look that up for me.
Can y'all hear Brooks hollering?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
They're out of school today. Get it? Shut up, boy!
It's like a faint, like you got him locked in the basement kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yes, that's him.
I don't know. My concern a little bit for Auburn. Look at Zach. Yeah, I know my shit.
Oh, wow. Is that a true story? He kicked 6 field goals?
I don't know if he kicked 6. Auburn may have missed a 2-point conversion that game and got to or something. I think they scored. I don't know if Holmes kicked 6, but it was like 15-17. The old Ed Sissom fumble. The OC was Bruce Arians. He threw the screen pass.
Birmingham
They're
Fire.
just trying to run out the clock. Ed Sissom fumbles. I think Ricky Neal recovered, and Jarrett Holmes kicks the field goal, and they win the West.
Wow.
And that Alabama team was 4-7.
Oh, so they did score a touchdown.
Yeah,
Fred Beasley from Lee and Montgomery, if I'm not mistaken, Cole.
That is correct.
Beast. That guy was a beast for the
Yes,
Niners
he was.
forever.
Oof.
My concern for Auburn in this game a little bit is I love what they've done the last 3 weeks, but defensively, we talk about the strides Auburn's made defensively. Well, Mississippi State's horrific at running the football. Western Kentucky doesn't run the football. And A&M's entire offense is garbage. You did pretty good against Mississippi State once you settled down. Thought you did a pretty good job against Western Kentucky. It's hard to gauge defensively. Like, have they turned it around? Are they playing with more effort? Yeah. But they also, I think, have played a couple of teams that may have played into allowing them to be a little bit more physical. Same thing offensively. A&M's reeling. Mississippi State's defense is okay. You kind of figure things out in the second half. Western Kentucky's defense, and I think you've played 3 teams that sort of set up for you to sort of do what you did. So I sort of don't know. have they really, really made strides? Like, are they really a different team running the football, or or is it just a matter of competition? And I don't know that answer yet. I think the best thing Auburn's got going for it is momentum, energy, confidence, inspiration.
Yeah,
that's the best thing they got going. That they if they have. I heard somebody say it the other day, and they were right. Auburn's got a better chance of winning this game now with Cornell as head coach than they would have with Brian Harsin.
No question.
Because of that alone. So I think the big thing is, though, Robbie, I think they're throwing it 18 times a game in the last couple of weeks. They're going to have to throw, and Robbie's not there. He's not there as a passer. The passing game's not there. So if you're Alabama, you're going to stuff the line. You're going to pay attention to that run game, and you're just not going to let much get going. So I sort of see it like a 37-10 kind of game. I just don't. I just think that things could kind of come back down to earth a little bit. We'll see. The one thing that's interesting about Alabama's offense is if you take away the Austin Peay game, they haven't rushed for more than 137 yards in the last 4 conference games.
Wow.
It's 4 straight. They haven't topped 137 rushing, which was shocking because they've got good backs and can run the ball. So, I mean, if Auburn can sort of get Bill O'Brien in throwing more than he should, Auburn's DBs have been okay. Maybe you got a chance there to maybe hope that you can hold them in check for a while. I just wonder about Auburn's ability to move the ball on offense when a team like Alabama's like, all right, you're going to run. We're not letting you do that. So good luck, Robbie Ashford. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but I do think Auburn's defense can hang tight against Alabama's offense. I do think maybe 37 is too much. Maybe it's 28-13 or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but maybe Auburn holds them in check somewhat. But I'm not sure Auburn's going to be able to score more than, without some turnovers, 13, 14 would be probably the most they get, I feel like.
They're going to get some turnovers. They're going to get 6 of them. And then they're going to go 3 and field goal.
But you cannot. I mean, I think that X factor of where is a team at is interesting. Alabama not in any contention for anything. Can't win the West. They can't win with none of that. For the first time in a while, Alabama's playing simply to win the Iron.
They got an outside shot of getting in, man.
They do, but I think that's not they're not. It's not right in front of them. So it's like, maybe, but primarily it's beating Auburn.
But they also know a 1-point win at home over Auburn ain't gonna cut it. What slim chance they have.
I think that combined with where Auburn's at, that's the one thing where I'm thinking maybe if Auburn can hang around for a few quarters, you get Cornell running up and down the sideline, maybe you can feed on that and turn it into something. That's what I'm saying. That maybe hang around for 2 quarters and turn it into an emotional thing where Alabama's going, golly, like this year things have just not gone our way this year, or that we just can't get over whatever. Get them in their head a little bit and get Auburn going, hey, we can do this. Just turn it into that game and see if something can switch. Is kind of, I think, your best shot.
It's Iron Bowl.
But it'll be fun. It's the first time for a while. Look, Auburn fans.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you get beat 50-0, look, you're going to have a head coach here. You're going to turn the page. Cornell's done good things. It's kind of you want to beat Alabama, but like if they lose that game, they literally could have a head coach Friday. The day before the game, they could have a coach. The day after the game. So they care. Or they always care. You always care about the game. But for Auburn fans, I think the head coaching thing kind of trumps it to some degree, no matter what happens. Given Auburn doesn't win, obviously that would be historic. But it won't be something Auburn fans will have to dwell in if they do lose the game. You'll be able to turn the page pretty quickly, which is not a bad thing. All right, well, let's roll out of here. Hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep you covered the rest of the week, coaching search stuff. Basketball had a nice win over Bradley. They play again against Northwestern in the Cancun Challenge. And then they come home. Auburn has the Iron Bowl, and then we're rolling on to recruiting and transfer portal.
Hey, Justin, I did want to say before we get out of here, we're not going to have the Auburn Live recruiting show on Friday. Logistics just couldn't make it happen, but we will be back Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time for the call-in show.
Which could be a fun one.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get out of here. For Jeffrey, Pink, Keith, I am Justin. Until next time, we'll see you.